These kitchen cabinets were beat up, yellowed from oxidation and UV with serious water damage around the sink. But we fixed the damage, filled the oak grain, and gave them a brand new life with a smooth, durable finish. We also painted the center island an accent color that, I'll be honest, is not a color I would have chosen. But hey, the homeowner loved it, and I'm curious what you think. I had a great crew on this one too. Keegan, my go-to guy, was running second in command, and my daughter Jadis came out to help with grain filling, sanding, and more. If you're looking to learn how to paint kitchen cabinets, this video is for you. I'll walk you through the prep, products, sprayers, caulking, how long it took, and even what it costs to hire out versus DIY. Stick around to see the full transformation and maybe pick up a few tricks along the way. First thing I do on any kitchen cabinet job is to go around and document everything. I mostly do this for these videos, but it's nice to have everything documented just in case. After that, we immediately go around and prep off all the floors, the countertops, and create any dust barriers to contain all of our work and dust and overspray to our work area. The green tape you see me using here is frog tape. I use frog tape on everything in cabinet jobs for two reasons. First, it has a 21-day clean removal, meaning that even after 21 days, it will peel up without leaving any residue. Second, its edge lock treatment makes it so that you don't get bleed through under the tape like you do with most other tapes. We cover our countertops with the same paper we use on the floors. We use Trimco X paper, which is just a thicker craft paper that holds up great on jobs like this. By the way, you can find links to all the products I use in the description of this video. Now I'm setting up one of my absolute favorite tools for cabinet painting, the Paintline 50-door portable drying rack. I bought this back in early 2004 and it has easily been one of the best investments I've made in cabinet painting. It allows me to stack up my doors for drying in an incredibly small footprint, and it makes it great for small kitchens. Plus, it sets up in about 10 minutes and can be rolled around so I can move it in and out of the spaces that I need to while I'm working on the cabinets. Now we're getting into the real stuff. It's time to get each door ready for primer. This video was actually filmed well over a year ago, and as you can see, I'm cleaning the doors with Dawn dish soap. That absolutely works, but we've worked out a better method over the last year or so. And these days we use cabinet prep for cleaning and deglossing our doors before primer. Cabinet prep is a deglosser and degreaser. The deglosser helps by etching the doors even before we sand them, which just helps the primer bond better, and it's great for if you happen to miss any little areas or anything like that when you're sanding, to know that everything has already been etched. As I wrap up cleaning the doors, Jadis, my daughter, is sanding all the doors with the Surf Prep 3x4 sander and 180 grit sandpaper. The Surf Prep allows us to sand better and quicker than we can by hand, and it keeps the dust down by attaching the sander directly to a HEPA vacuum. She'll still grab a hand sander to get into the grooves and all the little areas, but the Surf Prep sander definitely speeds up the majority of our sanding process. While Jadis and I are cleaning and sanding the doors, I have Keegan going around pulling the doors off and labeling everything. We label each door with a number under where the hinge would go, and then we cover that with a little piece of tape, and then we give each cabinet a corresponding number. Labeling everything like this can save you hours of time when reassembling the kitchen. Ask me how I know. Keegan has been painting with me for nearly 10 years, since he was back in high school, and Jadis, my daughter, helps out in the summertime. Right now, we have a very efficient crew. As we wrap up cleaning and sanding all the doors, it's time to fill the grain. We use cabinet mud for all our grain filling. Cabinet mud is a grain filler that dries hard, yet is easy to sand and has minimal reactivation, whether you are spraying, rolling, using an oil, a shellac, or even a water-based primer. After we mix up the cabinet mud, I apply it onto the cabinet door fronts with a paintbrush. Then I go back and smooth and scrape it off with a 5-inch mud knife. And this just leaves behind everything that's in the grain. We've also found it's easier to try to get as much out of those little crevices and corners before it dries, rather than trying to sand it all out of those corners after it dries. So if you're doing this, get that cabinet mud or your grain filler out of the edges before it dries, and that will save you a lot of time. This step here just shows us moving on from applying the cabinet mud right into sanding the cabinet mud. We sand it smooth, double check the doors, vacuum, and then they're ready for primer. By the way, you can get cabinet mud at DIYpaintingsupply.com. There's a link to it in the description of this video. Here Keegan is prepping off the cabinet boxes to prevent any overspray inside the cabinets. He's using a 3M hand masker, 72-inch masking film, and frog tape. He starts by attaching a sheet of plastic to the inner top of the cabinet, then lining the inside of the cabinet with frog tape, and finally stretching out the plastic to the frog tape and attaching it around the edges. Ideally, he gets a nice tight sheet of plastic that won't flap around when we're spraying the cabinets. Honestly, this is one of the trickiest parts of cabinet painting, and it can take quite a while to get efficient at prepping off the insides of cabinet boxes. At this point, the prep work is pretty much finished, and I'm going around cleaning up the workspace before we start spraying primer. I like to vacuum everything before primer, though a dust-free environment is most important right before the final top coat. Because of this channel, I do often try out different primers, sprayers, top coats, and whatnot. So you won't see me use the exact same products or tools in every video. Here, I'm gonna prime everything with Extreme Block water-based primer from Sherwin-Williams. I love Extreme Block primer, and it's decent at blocking out tannic acids that bleed through when you're spraying oak, and it has a really great bond. Because I'm gonna spray with the Wagner Flexio 5000, which is weaker than many professional level sprayers, I am thinning the primer down by 20%. This lowers the viscosity enough for the Flexio to atomize the primer and give a really nice, smooth sprayed finish. Next, I'm setting up my paint pyramids onto the center island where I will be spraying all of the doors. These paint pyramids keep the doors off the countertop while spraying and allow me to easily grab under the door and move it into the drying rack when I'm done spraying the door. And now we're finally setting up our sprayer. For this project, I'm using the Wagner Flexio 5000. The reason I like this sprayer is because of its entry-level price while still giving professional level results if you know how to use it. For coatings like this, you're typically going to want to thin your paint or primer by about 20%, turn your air all the way up, and start spraying with your fluid control turned all the way down. Fluid control is a little knob right behind the trigger on the Flexio 5000. Just slowly turn up your fluid a little bit at a time until you get a nice span with good atomization. If your sprayer is spitting paint out, the most likely culprit is the paint is too thick or you don't have enough airflow. Thin your paint down more and make sure to turn the air up all the way. On this project, I decided to let Keegan do pretty much all the spraying. Keegan's been painting with me for years and he knows the process inside and out. I've had him take on a lot of the spraying lately and he's become a really great sprayer over the last year. When you're spraying your doors flat like this, you really can't mess them up too much. Go ahead and spray on a nice thick coat. Try to go for a 50% overlap, and when you're shooting your doors flat like this, you can even spray them in 2 different directions to make sure that your coverage is really good. A nice thick coat of primer allows you to sand the doors really smooth before applying that top coat. So go ahead and really put that primer on. Spraying the boxes is a little bit different. You can't spray the boxes as thick as you can spray the flat doors, or you can quite easily end up with runs. So if you're struggling to get enough paint on the boxes when spraying, go ahead and spray on 1 coat of primer, let it dry. You don't need to sand in between coats of primer or anything. Then spray on a 2nd coat of primer before moving on to your top coat. That'll just make it a little bit easier so you don't end up with a bunch of runs on your boxes. At this point, the priming is all done and it's time to sand down the primer, caulk everything, and get ready for the top coat. When sanding the primer on the boxes, I use 220 grit sanding sponges. They give a great smooth finish that's absolutely perfect for the top coat. And I use the same sanding sponges on the doors as well. Though I'm not sure why I was sanding these doors by hand and not using the Surf Prep sander. Like I said, it was a year ago. Maybe I'd brought it somewhere and just didn't have it that day. Who knows? Another thing we're doing during this step is just looking over all the doors for any imperfections that we may have missed when we were doing the grain filler. Are there any scratches, anything like that? Grain filler tends to fill them, so we don't find much, but it is that time for that final inspection before you go putting on the top coat. Here you can also see just how handy that paint line drying rack comes in. Just able to run the doors back and forth and save myself so much time. Jadis, always being the great helper, is going around and vacuuming all the dust. At this point, we're getting ready for top coat, and we want to make sure the home is as dust-free as possible. Also, we're just about to start caulking everything, and you don't want dust getting in the caulk. So we're gonna sand, we're gonna vacuum, and then it's on to caulking. So we got the primer done here, and I'm just getting ready to start caulking all the gaps in the boxes here. And I want to show you what I use. I use a dripless caulk gun, which you can get at DIYpaintingsupply.com. And I really like Sherwin-Williams Powerhouse. This is their 60-year caulk. It's a siliconized acrylic latex caulk, and I believe it's paintable in about 30 minutes. I could be wrong on that, but it's just incredible stuff. It goes on nice and smooth. It's got a lot of elasticity, and it just doesn't crack. I don't get callbacks on it. So this is what I use, it's what I like. It's great stuff. When you're getting ready to caulk, important thing you want to do is make sure to not cut that tip too big. I like to cut it at a small little angle. I don't want that hole too big. And then I try to shape this tip just a little bit so that it goes right into the corner. Let's see if we can get that on the camera. Where is the camera here? So we can get it right in the corner. But I want to get it right in that corner and get the finest, tightest little bead of caulk possible. And then I use a wet rag to wipe it smooth. Better than using a dry finger or a dry rag. It'll smear more. So let's get on it. Okay, I had to leave in this incredibly controversial part of the video, caulking the floating panels. If you've ever read the comments online, this is where things get feisty. So caulking the gap in floating doors, in theory, could create a problem. The floating inner panel can expand and contract at a different rate than the frame that it's floating in. If it does this, the caulk used could crack and look rather ugly over time. On the other side, not caulking the floating panel doesn't look fantastic to begin with. In reality though, if you use a high quality caulk like Powerhouse from Sherwin-Williams, your odds of having the caulk crack are actually quite low. And if they do ever crack, a thin bead of caulk over the crack and they look great again. It's really not the end of the world like many commenters might want you to believe. On my projects, I give the homeowners all the info they need and then allow them to make the decision themselves. I'll show them what they look like with and without the caulking. And those who want to be safe, go no caulking. And I would say that's probably most of the people I work with. Those who live on the wild side and want to live with a little bit of risk, choose to caulk them. I don't guarantee anything though. If they do have me caulk the floating panels and it cracks over time, that's on them. I can't guarantee anything when it comes to caulking the floating panels, but I will tell you, it looks really nice right when you're done. All right, so the paint that we're using here, if you like this color in this video and you want to use it for yourself, we're using Sherwin-Williams Emerald Urethane Trim Enamel, and the accent for the center island is something Haven. It was actually a Lowe's Sherwin-Williams color, That's HGSW6437. And the main body color, again, we're using emerald urethane trim enamel. The main body color, this one right here, and that is Bohemian something, but it's HGSW405. So like I just showed you, for the top coat on this project, we went with emerald urethane from Sherwin-Williams. Emerald is one of my favorite cabinet paints for DIYers. It looks amazing sprayed. It can be rolled on and still looks amazing. And it's just a very forgiving paint. There are better finishes out there, but if you're not a skilled sprayer and this is a weekend project for you, emerald is absolutely the way to go. It's still a very professional level finish. I've used emerald on many occasions and it looks beautiful, it's easy to use, and it's very durable. Also, emerald is a low VOC paint, meaning that it has less than 50 grams of VOCs per liter. VOCs are the volatile organic compounds, or in other words, the bad stuff that smells. Less than 50 puts it in the realm of basic wall paint. And to be exact, I think emerald is around 11 grams per liter. In comparison, oil and lacquer-based paints are in the 400 to 800 grams per liter range, which means they're gonna stink up your whole house, and you should probably just leave if someone is using those in your home and go get a hotel for the night. So earlier in the video, I told you that I'd let you know the cost to do a project like this. And if you're gonna do it yourself, you're looking at, on a good sized kitchen, maybe 2 gallons of primer, 3 gallons of top coat. Your primer's gonna cost you about $50 a gallon, top coat about $100 a gallon. So you're looking at, for a good sized kitchen, about $400 worth of primer and top coat. And then between your paint, your paper, your plastic, you're usually gonna be in about 100 to 150, kind of right in that range, depending on if you already have a few little things. If you wanna get like a 3M hand masker, stuff like that, you might be up a little bit closer to 200. And then if you're gonna spray, the Wagner Flexio is about $239. If you're gonna brush and roll, you're obviously gonna save some money. So if you're gonna spray, gotta buy the paint and pretty much buy everything, you're looking at about $850. If you're not gonna spray, you're gonna drop that down to about $600, right in that range, maybe a little bit less if you already have a few tools yourself. But if you hire it out to a company, to a professional, I'm gonna charge people roughly in about the $6,000 to $7,000 range to do this project. And I think that's gonna be pretty standard with most people you see. You might find a few people closer to that $4,000 to $5,000 range, but also a few that might be even more expensive than me and be in that $8,000 to $10,000 range. As far as the time it takes, if I'm doing a project like this by myself, it's gonna take me about 40, 50 hours, kind of in that range, maybe 60 if things are going a little bit slow. So if you're a DIYer doing it on the weekends and everything, kind of plan in that 60 to probably upwards of 100 hours to do a project like this, if you're gonna do everything right and prep it off and, not cut any corners. So 60 to 100 hours, and anywhere from about $600 to $850. Or if you're looking to hire it out, you're probably looking in that $5,000 to $7,000 range, anywhere in there, depending on your market and who you find to do your kitchen. So here's that center island color I told you about earlier too. I get it. Many people have used greens to accent their center island, but I think they just kind of got the wrong green on this one. It doesn't quite work for me, but I do know the homeowner liked it, and to each their own, and I'm thrilled that she's happy with it. But I'd love to know what you guys think. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I never said I'm an expert on color. I can just apply the color very well. So if you like this color, let me know. If it's awful, I'd love to hear your opinions, because I don't know. Who am I to say? So I did skip over in the video going from first coat of top coat to second coat of top coat. All we do at that point is we give everything a light sand down with anywhere from 220 to 320 grit sandpaper. We vacuum everything up. We double check that, did we miss any caulking anywhere? Did we miss any green filler? It's just kind of that final inspection. It's a really brief, give everything a light sand, double check everything, vacuum, and move on to spraying that final coat. It doesn't show in video very neat because you're just spraying white over white, so you can't even really see it. Kind of that fun part is seeing it go from wood color to primer, and that shows kind of the best in video. But so we just kind of skipped over that. But here's me. Keegan, I think, was gone early that day, so I took over the spraying, but Keegan did most of it on this project, and I'm just spraying on the final top coat. And then we're gonna wrap this project up and show you the big reveal. And now I've got the crew all back together. I've got Keegan and I've got Jadis. And this video, through the rest of it here, is sped up by about 50 times. So putting the kitchen back together, cleaning it up, touching it up, pulling all the prep work and everything like that usually takes us about a full day, maybe a light full day, but it takes a little while. Usually 2 people are putting the doors back together. I'm running around touching up any little things, edges, stuff like that that might need a little cleanup. And then we pull all the paper and everything and vacuum, wipe everything down, make the kitchen look beautiful, and get out of there. So I've got nothing more to say, so I'm just gonna check out. Thanks for watching, and make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this.
Summer is ended, the leaves are turning brown. Red and yellow, soon they'll be falling down. Now, I'm not ready, not just yet. I'm not ready for autumn. Autumn comes too soon. Autumn comes too soon. The light that flickers will blow away the sight, and all that blossomed will wither away and die. Not now, I'm not ready, not just yet. I'm not ready for autumn. Autumn comes too soon. I'm not ready for autumn. Autumn comes too soon. Autumn comes too soon.
Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you want to download my free kitchen cabinet project planner, go down. I have a link in the description below. It's absolutely free and it will help you plan out your kitchen cabinet painting project and just keep everything organized. So go download that. It's absolutely free. Thanks again for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe.